Hello, and I am Ryan from Vet Social, and this is a special webinar. I'm really excited about it, actually, and want to thank right off the bat, thank our sponsors from the veteran insurance team. They're going to bring us something very dynamic today that a lot of people don't really like to talk about, which is dying, just to put it out there. And so I want to welcome you to this conversation about veteran death planning and what happens to your families when you pass away. It's an important topic, really, to have a plan in place, to understand, what comes after, and that you're not leaving a lot of destruction in the wake. Unfortunately, it happens every day. So I think our guest, Mark Massey from the veteran insurance team, is going to be able to talk to us a little bit about this. I'm not going to make this easy on him, too. I'm going to actually grill him on a few questions, too. So there may be some softball questions. If you've watched the Vet Social, you know that what the flavor is on this. But I really want to dig in deep and find out what are some of the differences in life insurance that apply to the military community, the veteran community, especially for those that are preparing to transition out. What does that look like, for example? And really, what is insurance? Sometimes I wonder. A lot of people have told me in the past, life insurance might look a little like buying a used car, or talking to it, or a life insurance agent might be a used car salesperson. So I don't necessarily think that's true. So let's bring Mark on without further ado. And I wanted him to talk a little bit about what's going on. And again, thank you to our sponsors, the veteran insurance team. Mark, there you are. I kind of set you up for. I brought the heat on right away, which is, sometimes people look at insurance agents, life insurance, and they're like, is this a scam? What is life insurance? And there is some importance to this thing, right? And why don't you tell us a little bit about not only yourself, but why do we even care about life insurance?
Well, I'll answer the second question first. If life insurance wasn't important, you wouldn't have the federal government and the VA coming up with products like VGLI and SGLI to help service members while they're active duty and separated have a guaranteed issue product. Obviously, if the federal government, the VA, the state governments put these kind of plans together, they see the value in life insurance. Our job here at the veteran insurance team is to make sure that our veterans and our active duty personnel understand what they're buying and how it's going to affect them at the different stages of their life cycle, and how maybe SGLI and VGLI aren't the right options at certain stages as they progress through the life cycle. Obviously, if individuals have really bad health issues, those are two really good options. But if somebody's relatively healthy, we've got other options that might benefit them more, especially if you're looking to use life insurance for something other than a death benefit. Now, to your first question, I'm the director of insurance brokerage here at the veteran insurance team. I've been at this for about 25 years now. We are building an agent force right now, and we actually have about 15 new agents right now in our Boots to Banking platform. So we're very excited to get those guys on board to start helping our veteran community out. But we'd be happy to take any questions as we go through this process. We've got a live comment chat box open. So if you've got any specific questions on life insurance, and more importantly, what's going to happen to you as a veteran and your family when you pass away, and what can we do with life insurance to help your family prosper while you're still here, and of course after you're gone.
Awesome. And Mark, who in the heck are you? Where'd you come from? What's your backstory?
Military family going back pre-colonial, back in the Shenandoah Valley area. Been in the financial services business since 99, 2000. I've worked on the retail side as a financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. That's how I came into the business. And then I've wholesaled for multiple different financial services companies and got into this space with doing life insurance distribution and working with agents and agencies back in 2011. So a myriad of experience that has put me in a position to be able to help a lot of veterans, I hope, going forward with the veteran insurance team.
Perfect. And that's a great segue. So what are the key differences between SGLI, VGLI, and civilian life insurance? And when should I when should I consider each of these? I mean,
Okay.
what's the relevance of them?
Very simply, SGLI is for folks that are active duty right now. I've got a couple of notes pulled up here, but SGLI caps out on the death benefit at $500,000. You can increase that once you've purchased your first policy by $10,000 increments, capping out at $500,000. They're not going to take a look at your age. They're not going to take a look at your health. They're not going to look at your gender or whether you're using tobacco or not. They're just going to apply a 6 cents per thousand charge. And then, of course, recently, back in March of 2023, they added the traumatic brain injury protection, and that's an extra $1. So very, very affordable coverage and guaranteed issue at that. The challenge with SGLI is once you separate from the military, whether you retire or you just don't re-up, or you become disabled and you're medically separated, you've got 120 days from that point in time to convert that coverage to the VGLI, the Veterans Group Life Insurance, or drop it, which obviously we don't want to do, or get a commercial product in the private insurance market. Now, VGLI is designed for those folks that have separated. Same caps, same incremental increases, 10,000 an increase up to $500,000. And of course, whatever you've got on the SGLI side, you can't increase it past that on the VGLI side once you've separated. You've got ability to raise it $25,000 on your anniversary and every 5 years up until you hit age 60. So it does cap at age 60. There's no cash value growth in it. Again, it doesn't account for gender, tobacco, your occupation, or your tobacco use. They're just looking at your age, and every 5 years, that age band is going to increase your premium. And some of those increases can be pretty significant as you get older and further on in life.
I think a lot of veterans don't realize that age band, especially with VGLI, can I mean it gets ridiculous as you get older, for sure.
That's I would say 90% of the phone calls that we get from the veterans looking for help with their insurance is, hey, I just got my renewal and they've got sticker shock. So they're looking for other options, and they want their insurance to do more for them while they're still here in the form of a living benefit. They want to build cash. They want protection for the different living benefits that are out there: chronic illness, accidents, Alzheimer's, long-term care, which would fall under chronic illness. So we've built some products and worked with a couple of insurance carriers where we have a pretty unique ability to help those veterans in converting those products. Now, if you do have SGLI or VGLI, there are 12 different commercial private carriers that will allow you to convert that coverage to a permanent contract without providing any kind of insurability, as long as you do that within the first 240 days of separating, and you don't have to show any kind of medical underwriting on that. If you go past 240 days, you do have to show proof that you're in pretty good health condition.
Okay. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, what are the most common mistakes that veterans are making as they're transitioning from military service over to military life? And what are some tips that they can implement to avoid these mistakes?
Well, the first thing is taking a look at what their monthly income is compared to their monthly outflow. What are their monthly expenses? We like to say that every veteran needs a hug. We want to make sure that whether you are with us or gone, like if you're with us and you've got a disability that's going to prevent you from earning an income, Is your income going to cover your housing, your utilities, and your groceries for your family and your wife and your dependents, your husband and your dependents, or anybody that you may be taking care of in the household that are outside of your immediate family? That's the biggest thing, is making sure that you've got that nut covered. The second thing is, what do you want to do once you get outside the military? Do you have a job lined up? Is that job going to offer you group benefits? Are those group benefits going to be enough that it's going to allow you to drop that SGLI and not convert it to a VGLI product? Or do you need to get some more supplemental insurance? And one thing that I hear often, not all the time, but from veterans is, I've got that VGLI, I can't buy anymore, I'm capped at $500,000. Absolutely not true. The federal programs do not inhibit you from buying supplemental life insurance from a private carrier. So I want to make that point very clear. You can have both. Typically, though, if you're starting to look and you're getting up 40 plus in years, you're going to be able to find that insurance a lot cheaper with a longer duration, not a 5-year window, where you would see a rate increase if you start looking in that private market. Second thing,
Okay.
in transitioning is making sure that you've got coverage on the disability side as well. Okay. 4 times more likely that you're going to have a disabling event than to die prematurely over the course of your life cycle. A lot of people in the private world do have some type of a group insurance in place, whether it's short-term or long-term disability, but you got to look at what the provisions of that policy are. Typically, they're not going to cover that monthly expense that you've got.
Okay. And it sounds, and this is maybe for a little bit later, but I was going to say later, but I meant I was going to talk about layers and layering policies. Can't speak English today. But we do have a question from Eric Johnson, and he asks, I'm in the reserves. Am I able to get life insurance?
Absolutely. Give us a call. We'll be able to help you walk through it. The first question that usually comes up when people, and I know this will be a question coming on, so I'll go ahead and head it off, is how much coverage do I need? What kind of coverage do I need? And the answer to that is, I have no idea. So what our advisors are trained to do is ask a simple question. If you're hurt and can't work, you're ill and can't work, or you're no longer in the picture, what's going to happen to your family? What do you want to have happen in the form of financial, in the form of expenses? How do you want your kids' college paid for? How do you want the home paid for? Our job is to sit there and listen to that and then tailor a program that fits the requirements that you've got and try and make it as affordable as possible.
All right. And we have another question from Ryan Himhauser. I have a kid who what would make sense for him. He's 7 months old. I'm thinking right off the top of my head, I think of Gerber when I think of children. But what are some things that maybe would for in terms of this, in terms of children and answering this question, answering the mail on this?
It goes back to my last statement. What do you want to have happen? There are a number of different types of policies that we can put forth. In the commercial world, we can buy a rider, a child rider on life insurance, whether it's term or permanent, or you can buy a policy on your child outright. You can gift that to them. You can be the owner on it. They can be the applicant. You can be the payer. And then absolutely, when they turn 18 or they get out of college, you can turn around and change the ownership on that policy. So you can do a term policy. You can do a permanent policy. The only caveat there is there are going to be some financial metrics there, financial multipliers on what the parent is buying that's going to limit the amount that you can buy on the child. And every carrier has a little bit different metrics on that.
Okay. Another question that came through. I don't even have to ask any questions because we have so many awesome people feeding us with some really great questions. And I think this is a misconception. This next one, I thought the VA is going to take care of us. What does the VA give me? What are the benefits? And what are the living benefits or the death benefits that they're going to get? A lot of veterans think that as soon as they pass away, all their funeral costs, their funeral expenses will be taken care of. Now, as a veteran, I know that there's definitely a nuance with how that's handled, and a lot of people have the misconception even about Arlington, are they going to receive those benefits for Arlington? But we don't have to dive into that specifically. But what are some of the benefits that the VA is going to give, and then how do you supplement that to make sure that your families aren't left holding the bill at the end of the day?
Yep. I've got two grandparents in Arlington, and my mother's in Barrancas here in Pensacola, Florida. So I'm familiar with that setup. But the typical response from veterans is just that the VA is going to take care of me. Even if I'm not completely healthy. Say I'm 100% permanent and total. The VA is going to take care of me. It's no problem. And we hear that all the time. And the answer is absolutely it's not. The typical, in my area, the typical funeral service from start to finish is going to run right around $10,000 at the bare minimum, unless you're being cremated. The VA and the federal government are going to kick in roughly about $1,400. There's a transitional benefit for the spouses. If you still have dependents at home that are under 18, they're going to give you another roughly $350. So you can see it's not going to cover all the expenses that are going to go forward and help your family. Then, of course, you've got some survivor benefits that are in there. It really depends on the grade that you were in and whether you're active duty or not, and how you passed away, whether you're passed away on active duty, if it was a result of an active duty event, were you killed in action, or were you killed in training, or were you riding down the road and somebody crossed the yellow line, but you were still active duty or reservist. So there are a number of different rules that apply there from an eligibility standpoint. But the bottom line is, no matter what your eligibility is, it's not going to cover everything.
Yeah, that's true.
The burial or the ongoing expenses for your family.
And because we probably have a mix, at some point there will be a mix of veterans that are pre 9/11 and post 9/11 veterans. There's a nuance there. And then if we're talking specifically about VA benefits, there's also a nuance between service connected and also non-service connected, in terms of potentially causes of death and whatnot. So yeah, that's a lot of information that you just
pulled up a couple
gave
of
us
things
there
here on the burial allowance, so I can kind of elaborate on that.
Oh yeah,
post 2001, the burial allowance, if it was service connected, is $2,000. For a non-service connected, it's under $1,000. It's $948. And then,
so it sounds like if you do the simple math on just that, if the funeral expenses are, let's say, 10,000, which I think is a conservative a cost for it, that's conservative. So if you minus 10 from 2, you still are left with an $8,000 bill of goods, and that's not, unfortunately, if you have to transport that veteran to a different location.
Right. We talked to somebody just the other day that was bringing up the cost just for the hearse, north of $3,000. So we look at burial plots. If you're not going into a VA cemetery, they're going to give you a whopping $948 to buy that plot. Not going to cover much, depending on where you are in the country.
For sure. And John made a comment that I don't want to pay into something I can't use if there is a life event that I need money for. So can you talk about some of the different types of insurance policies? And is there a policy? I know there is, so it's kind of a loaded question to you, Mark. Are there policies that help not only veterans, but everyone, including the middle spouses, during things that happen, life events?
Sure. We have a product in-house that's called Vet Life, and that's our flagship product. It does provide cash value. It provides you an opportunity to customize the death benefit and customize the money that you're putting into the policy, where you can lower the amount that's actually going to the insurance cost and increase the amount that's going to build the cash value in that policy. So that's the Cadillac side. The other side of the coin is term insurance, just like you'd have with VGLI. It's term, and we can get policies that go from annual renewable term out to 30-year term. So you're paying that same price for the duration of the term policy. those term policies, depending on what carrier you're using, do have the ability to convert those to a permanent policy sometime during that policy's life cycle, whether it's 10, 20, 30 years. We also have participating whole life and IUL. So an indexed product is an IUL product where the cash value is tied to the performance of a particular index. Permanent whole life or participating whole life insurance is not tied to an index. It's tied to the insurance company and the dividend they're kicking back. And those typically grow cash value as well, not as fast as your typical indexed policy. On top of that, we've got guaranteed issue. If we've got somebody who's got some pretty significant health issues, typically you're going to see what's called guaranteed issue or GI, and those cap out traditionally at about $25,000 to $30,000. $30,000 is the very high end, and there are some age restrictions on that. We have access to a policy with guaranteed issue with a couple of different eligibility requirements that can get you up to $150,000 on guaranteed issue. So there's a myriad of products. Again, it goes back to my original statement. What do you want to have happen? And how do you want to put that plan together? We can help you do that. And we would love to have an opportunity to talk with you. Again, we're vets working with vets. We understand the veteраnisms. We understand the disability and the problem that a lot of folks who are on VA disability ratings get. A lot of insurance carriers don't have a deep understanding of the difference between a VA disability rating and an SSI disability rating. The carriers that we're working with do. We've talked with their underwriters and we've gotten some special discompensation to help our veterans get that kind of coverage. And we've been very successful at it. It's not saying we're going to get everybody covered, depending on what the health elements are, but we can get more than most.
So are we having a success rate with getting veterans life insurance that potentially they've had some different medical conditions as they're transitioning from service? Have we had success, especially, we think of like these different medications, for example, gabapentin or sumapentrin. I'm probably butchering those names, but you know what I mean, where we have these different conditions. Have we seen success helping veterans that otherwise may have been disqualified actually get the coverage that they deserve?
Absolutely. We just finished one here about a month ago, and it's actually for one of our members here. And we were able to get him $1 million policy, standard issued. Now, why was he standard? Well, he wasn't preferred because he did have 100% P&T in the veteran disability rating. He had post-traumatic stress, which is resolved now. He has IBS. He's got sleep apnea. He had a pretty significant injury in combat. And there were a couple other things that piled on top of that. But we were able to get him a standard rating with no extras and get him $1 million IUL policy. So he's paying for a small piece of term coverage, and the rest of that money is going to build cash value that he can turn around and use that cash value. And not, as one of the questions I just saw, are we going to be paying an arm and a leg for it? No. That cash value is going to grow. And if he doesn't touch the cash value over the course of his life, when he passes away, that cash value or the death benefit is going to go to his survivors. And then during his life, he's got the ability to pull that cash value out tax-free, even before his retirement age of 65 or even 59 and a half, like most qualified plans. And he can use that to help fund college, to buy a car if an emergency comes up, to help, start the investment into a business, to buy a piece of property. All kinds of flexibility with that cash value.
All right, amazing. And Mike commented that is it possible for someone like Mike who has 60% and he has one of his conditions is PTSD? Are we able to help someone like Mike?
Yeah, and that ties into something else that may come up that I'll go ahead and address here now. Is we're not going to, the insurance carriers are not going to underwrite you for PTSD or for cannabis use. What they're going to do is they're going to say, what is the underlying condition that's causing the diagnosis for the PTSD or causing you to get a medical marijuana license? Is it pain? Is it the fact that you can't sleep? Is it anxiety? Is it nightmares? Are you in a position where you're potentially harming yourself or harming somebody else? That's where we need to dig into that with each individual that we're looking to be an applicant with this insurance carrier or any of the insurance carriers we're working with. And we want to paint the biggest and brightest picture for that underwriter so that they can understand exactly what it is. We've got a lot of folks that are 100%, and PTSD is a large portion of that, but those PTSD issues might have been resolved, 5, 10, 15 years ago. So that's not going to weigh as heavy on the underwriter as something that's ongoing right now. I hope that answers that question.
No, it does, and I have so many other questions, but I think as we're coming up on 30 minutes, I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and talk
Let me
specific.
interject here real quick. I saw this one question from Eric. Is I'm in my 20s. Are these policies affordable? Eric, I can get you $1 million in your 20s for about $25 a month for a 20-year policy. And that's term insurance that's convertible into what we're talking about with vet life anytime during that 20-year cycle.
All right, perfect. And actually, before we pivot here, Mike, again, he asked, so I deal with the VA for healthcare. How hard is it going to be to get all the documents? And what do you all need to get this life insurance policy enforced?
Again, it's going to depend on what's going on from a health situation, what the maladies are, what your ailments are. But we typically don't have a very hard time getting those. It takes a little bit of time. We might have to wait a couple of weeks to get an answer from the underwriter, but most of that information is pretty readily available. And if we're working with the underwriters that we're working with, they know how to navigate that from a back office standpoint pretty easily.
Awesome. All right. It sounds like Vet Life is doing a lot for veterans when it comes to life insurance and helping to advise them on different options that are available to them to not only support them as they transition out of the military, but also to protect their families. So pivoting gears here, Vet Life, it's a veteran owned and operated company, and you all are looking for veterans. Is that correct?
Correct. So we're 100% veteran owned, veteran run. We at Vet Life only work with other veterans and their immediate current spouse and their dependent children under 18, unless those dependent children are choosing at some point post high school to go into the military or go to a service academy, go into ROTC, something like that. So we've got folks here that understand what you are going through. They've been through it themselves or are currently going through it. But also with Vet Life, we're part of a larger organization. So it's not just life insurance, health insurance, disability, long-term care. We can help you out on the property and casualty side. So homeowners, car insurance, boat insurance. We're an insurance arm of a larger organization, the Veteran Alliance. So if we can talk with you about what's going on your life insurance side and your assets under management side, help you grow that pot while you're in the military and after you separate, set you up for a retirement, set you up for owning that business or whatever you're going to do post-military service. We can also help you out with the other things that come across in life too. Mortgages, commercial lending, commercial property and casualty, all those different facets of life, we are able to help you out with that. Today, obviously, we're talking about the insurance side, but I just want to mention that, we can help you out with all those other needs as well. Give us a call and we'll be happy to have a discussion with you.
Awesome. So if someone's looking for you, Mark, where do they find you?
The best place to go right now is going to be the website. You want to pull that back up, Ryan? It's called theveteranspot.com. Just go in there and click on Get Started. We're doing a couple of updates to this right now. So if it doesn't work the first time you click, come back in a day. We should be fully live on this platform next week. In the bottom right-hand side there, you see the little chat box where it says, hey there, have a question, text us here. Text there, and one of us will get back to you pretty quickly. We're also all over social media. You'll see Vet Life on Facebook. You'll see the Veteran Insurance Team on Facebook. You can always messenger us in there as well. We'll be happy to get back to you pretty quickly.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure to talk to you here on Vet Social, and we're going to have you back for sure. And until next time, I'm going to kick you off the stage and kind of do my last bit here, and then that'll be it for today. So thank you to Mark. He was a fantastic guest and really a lot of insight into life insurance. And again, it's really about protecting your family, your loved ones, your legacy, and not leaving them with the burden potentially of a high bill. For example, if you pass away, and the VA doesn't necessarily, it's not going to necessarily cover all those expenses. So just things to think about. If you're interested, you can definitely reach out to Mark there just to get some more information on it. You know that knowledge is power. So I do want to leave you when we speak of knowledge is power. On 12 and 13 September, 12 and 13 September, we are having just an amazing event. Vet Social 25 is back, over 5 virtual stages with 70 dynamic speakers talking about veteranpreneurship, spousepreneurship, and everything in between. This is really going to be a dynamic event for veterans and the veteran community as a whole. So check that out. You can register for free at event.veteransocialsummit.com, or just go to veteransocialsummit.com, and you will find the information. It's free to register. So we're looking forward to seeing you on 12 and 13 September. And until next time, we want to thank the Veteran Insurance Team for being a proud sponsor of the Veteran Social. So thank you very much. Until next time, start climbing higher.
So when I met Ryan Hunt and Annette Wittenberger, they kept talking about this amazing idea that they had and had previously been successful at, but it had been paused and they wanted to keep going with it. And they were talking about how veterans can learn resources about entrepreneurship, education, really connecting with our fellow veteran community and being successful. So obviously I wanted to be a part of that. And I am really excited to be a part of 2025 because we are going to have even more amazing speakers and resources.